Welcome to the College Recruiter webinar. The subject of today's discussion will be on the numbers that matter most in your job search. My name is Andrea McEwen Henderson, and I will be your host today. I am one of the national account managers with College Recruiter. I have a dozen years of experience in helping large and small employers reach recent college graduates and students. My primary responsibilities are facilitating our webinars, moderating the discussions at our college recruiting bootcamp conferences, as well as working with small to mid-sized employers on their entry-level hiring needs. College Recruiter is the highest traffic college job board with 150,000 unique monthly visitors. We help employers reach recent graduates and students of 1, 2, and 4-year colleges and graduate schools. We have permission to deliver emails on behalf of our employer clients to 7 million recent graduates and 10 million students, and we can also target them by major, school, year of graduation, diversity, and more. Our mobile banner ads is a project that can help you target when you want to reach lots of candidates. We also have, again, virtual career fairs that you can have a career fair just for you and your organization. For more information about College Recruiter, you can reach us at www.collegerecruiter.com/contact or 952-848-2211. Today's guest is Amanda Augustine, career management expert. Amanda helps recent college graduates and accomplished professionals reach their full career potential. Her goal is to get professionals into the right job sooner through personalized job search and career guidance. Amanda offers consulting, speaking engagements, and training sessions to all professionals ready to advance their careers. Follow Amanda at www.jobsearchamanda.com, or you can follow her on Twitter at JobSearchAmanda, or like her on Facebook for up-to-the-minute advice. I'm now going to turn the webinar over to Amanda.
Thanks, Andrea. Hey, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. Let's get down to it. So normally, people are throwing numbers at you left and right. They're talking about unemployment numbers and all these things out there. And at the end of the day, I don't know if any of that stuff really is going to help you find a job, knowing what the unemployment rate is, right? But I do want to share some numbers on some statistics that I found through my work with the ladders, as well as through other organizations that I really admire, such as JobFi and Career Crossroads, because I think the more data you can arm yourself with, the better job seeker you can be. So I'm going to share some of my favorite numbers with you and really what they mean for you and how you can make your job search more effective. Let's get right down into it. First number I'm going to throw out at you, 93. What do you need to know about this number? According to a social recruiting survey, 93% of employers and recruiters admit that they're going to search for you online before they invite you in for a face-to-face interview. In other words, you have to make sure that your professional brand is represented not just on paper, but also online. Whatever they read about on your resume, it needs to be backed up and tell a consistent story online and when they meet you face-to-face. So it's really important to think about, oh my gosh, how many accounts do I have out there? How many places do I have my resume stored? Do I have variations of my resume stored? Do I want them looking at my Instagram account, at my Facebook account, at any of my other accounts out there? I think it's really important for you to make a list of every single account that you own and decide, do I want it to be used for my personal brand or do I want them to be used for my professional brand? If it's going to go on the personal side, you need to lock those up, secure them, make sure that recruiters aren't going to find them. And if it's going to be used for professional purposes as part of your brand, make sure that the name is the exact same as it is on your resume and that the entire thing is fully fleshed out and set up so that it's representing you as a professional, specifically for the type of work that you're targeting. Same thing goes for make a list of all the places where you've uploaded your resume to a job board. And if there are old versions of your resume out there, you either need to deactivate those accounts or update them so they represent your most current resume. Google yourself. No one ever thinks to do this. You don't know what's out there about yourself if you don't do a Google search. So I would recommend at least once a month, Google your name as it appears on your resume and see what pops up. It's really important to know what they're going to find and what they're not going to find. Another thing, make sure that you're putting your LinkedIn profile on your resume. We know recruiters are going to search for it anyway. You might as well put it on your resume so they don't have to go hunting and so they find the right person and don't mistake you for someone else with the same name with maybe a really cruddy profile. All right, 80. Have you ever heard of the 80-20 rule? There's a lot of them out there. Well, there happens to also be one when it comes to recruiting. And in the world of recruiting, what they like to say is that if you get in front of a recruiter for a face-to-face interview, only 20% of that time is going to be spent verifying that you have the skills to do the job. The other 80% will be spent on making sure that you will fit in with the company culture, meaning you have the right personality to fit in with the team, that your leadership style or your work style will mesh well with the team, because you can have the best skill set in the world, but if you and the company don't match up, if it's not the right cultural fit and it just doesn't jive for you, it's not going to work out at the end of the day. You're either going to leave or they're going to let you go. So it's really, really, really important that you take some time before an interview, even before maybe you put in the job application, and make sure it's a company you'd want to work for, A. And when you're preparing for the interview, make sure you really investigate that company culture. It's all about that fit. So here are some things I recommend doing. Go to Glassdoor and go to Vault. Check out all the social media accounts that the company has and look at their corporate, company About Us page, particularly the part that's for hiring, and see what are they about, what's the brand they're representing. Better yet, check your network and see if you know anyone who works there now or used to work there, and find out from them what it's like. You will be so much more prepared for the interview if you research the company culture as part of your prep process. Okay, 72. A study by the Ladders found that your chances of getting a callback plummet 72 hours after the job is published online, even if you were considered a great fit for the job. So if you find a job you're really interested in and you think you're a great fit for it, you want to get that application out sooner rather than later. You're really doing yourself a disservice if you wait, because frankly, they get so inundated with applications that after the first 72 hours, they're not really even looking at them anymore. So in this case, the early bird really does get the worm. Keep that in mind. 10. All right. Now, this stat comes from a couple different places. I've seen it on a study by Career Crossroads. I've seen it in a study by JobSite. You are 10 times more likely to land the job when your job application is accompanied by an employee referral. And this can be done two ways. It may be that you're doing an online application and there's a spot where they ask, do you know anyone who works at the company? And you can say yes, and you can fill out their name. Better yet, you have someone in your network that you trust who works at that company, take your application and pass it on to the HR person who's responsible for hiring that position or the actual hiring manager. I think you can understand why that would probably give you an edge over other candidates. Oftentimes you get to bypass the gatekeepers. Even more than that, by knowing somebody who works at the company, you're more likely to have a sense of what that company culture is like. You can probably prepare better for the interview because you're getting some inside insight into the organization, and you know what to expect. That alone makes you a more attractive candidate because they're more likely to retain you for longer. So whatever you do, you always want to check your network first before you apply to a job. If you're really interested in a role, you want to look to see if you know anybody who works there or used to work there or a friend of a friend that works there, because if you can get someone who's willing to refer you or even better yet, advocate on your behalf, you are 10 times more likely to land that job at the end of the day. If nothing else, at least it will usually get you past the initial gatekeeper and at least get you an initial interview. 6. Now, this is a stat that I talk about a lot. If you've been reading any of the stuff I write for the Ladders, for Huffington Post, for Business Insider, I harp on this statistic a lot. An eye-tracking study by the Ladders found that the average recruiter looks at a resume for 6 seconds. Not minutes, seconds. 6 seconds before they decide if it's worth their while and they're going to look at it more closely later or if it's going in the trash. So at the end of the day, you have 6 seconds to make the right impression. And that's pretty scary. When you think about it, you really want to carefully craft your resume with the job goals in mind. You want to make sure that the top third of your resume is really a snapshot into what you're targeting and why you're qualified for that type of role. Think of the whole top third of your resume as being that snapshot, and really containing your elevator pitch. What am I great at? What am I passionate about? And why am I qualified for that role? How can I provide value? That's really what you want to harp on. And I put some samples up here that I did with Business Insider, one for an intern, one for an entry-level position, and one for more of a mid-level position. And you can see that the resume does kind of evolve in terms of its structure. There's a lot more flexibility, so to speak, when you're entry-level or you're an intern, because you're really going to work with whatever you've got. But it's really important to keep in mind that you don't just throw a resume together. You want to get some guidance from a professional because it really can make a big difference in how your job search goes. All right, 3. Now, this is something I coined a long time ago, but I like to talk about harnessing the power of 3 when you are pursuing a job search. And what in the world does that mean? Well, what I'm really talking about is that I want you to make sure you're not limiting yourself when you're looking for job leads. Don't rely on only one source to find all of those opportunities. Instead, I want you to harness the power of 3, and I'm doing air quotes even though you can't see me, by using multiple job search methods to find the most opportunities. So really what that means, you got 3 different options. You're going to apply and properly follow up on online job listings, so using multiple online sources to get the largest number of leads online. You're going to invest in your social and professional networks. Your friends, brothers, sister, uncle could be the key to your job. So remember that your personal connections are just as important as your professional connections. And you really do want to take the time to invest in your network because you can find out about all those leads that will be published online. And then 3rd, engage with recruiters. Now, if you're entry level, just out of school, chances are the recruiter part is not going to be a large part of your job search strategy. If you're looking for part-time work, you may reach out to staffing firms, and so that's a good way to get some staffing time, some temp work, something to get some experience and some cash in your pocket, and that's a great way to do it. But really, you're probably relying more on your network and online job listings when you're earlier in your career. As your career progresses and you're more that mid-level and above, or if you're a specialty, say you're in tech, those are the opportunities where you're going to end up leveraging recruiters more because that just tends to be the space that they play in the most. But just make sure whatever you do is use all three of these methods together. When you think about it, we already said you're 10 times more likely to land a job when your application is accompanied by a referral. That means you have to use networking and job applications together if you want to get that result. All right, and number 2, very important. When you think about your resume, and I know there's so much time and effort that goes into crafting the right document, keep in mind that it's normally passing through 1, if not 2, different gatekeepers. It's going to have to go across probably an entry-level sourcer, an HR coordinator, somebody who's pretty entry-level who's just learning the business, and it's going to end up going through an electronic screen, which is known as an applicant tracking system, or ATS for short. And it's usually going to hit the software before it's going to hit a set of human eyes. Basically what happens is that the software on the back end has been programmed to look for certain key terminology in order to decide if your resume meets the qualifications. So it's going to rank the resumes. And then if your resume is in the top of the ranks, those are the ones that are going to get passed on to a human. So it's really important that when you're crafting your document, you're keeping this in mind because you may have the best skill set in the world, but if you're not crafting a document that's designed to get past these initial gatekeepers, it's never going to land in the hands of somebody who has any clue what you really do for a living or what your skill set really consists of. A really great tool that I recommend a lot is something called jobscan.co. It's a really great system where you can copy and paste the information from your resume into one field. You copy and paste the job description in another one minus the company description, and you hit scan, and it will let you know what are the keywords that are routinely popping up in the job description and how your resume matches up with that. I recommend actually putting in a few job descriptions all at once if you're looking at the same types of jobs so that you get a better look at what are the most important key terms and make sure you're incorporating that exact same terminology into your resume. So at the end of the day, this is what you want to remember. 93% of recruiters admit to searching for your social media profiles. So you really want to make sure that what you're putting out there is what you want them to see and that it properly represents your brand. Always remember the 80-20 rule of interviewing. Make sure you are really researching that company culture before you set foot in the interview room. Your chances of getting called back are going to plummet 72 hours after the job is published online. So again, make sure all your materials are set up before you start looking at jobs, because when you find the right one, you want to be able to pull the trigger and apply with a tailored application as soon as possible. Again, a big one, you're 10 times more likely to land the job when your application is accompanied by an employer referral. So really invest in your network. It's going to make such a difference. It's really going to change the return on investment for your job applications when you can add this in. Always remember that 6-second rule. You need to make those 6 minutes, or the minutes we wish, right? Make those 6 seconds count. So really think about how you're crafting that resume. And if you don't know what you're doing, please seek out help from an expert or a professional, someone who's certified such as myself, because we will be able to help you craft the right document and save a lot of time and money at the end of the day. And don't rely on one method to find job opportunities. Always harness the power of 3. Utilize the online postings, leverage your network, and engage with recruiters. And then last but not least, keep in mind that your resume is always going to need to get passed to gatekeepers. So edit your document with this in mind so you're designing it to get past these guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Just a wealth of information. So I have some questions for you. How do I secure my personal brand?
Yeah, a lot of people ask this, and they get also really nervous about what if there's something online that they don't like, that they don't have control over. Well, the first thing you should really do is make a list of every account that you already know exists and decide, is it going to be for personal or for professional use. If it's really about your personal brand and you don't want it associated with your professional, oftentimes this is usually Instagram, Facebook, sometimes even Twitter. Here are things. Make sure that if there's a photo associated with those accounts, it's not the same one that you're using for your professional brand. Especially on Facebook, on any of these, change the name to either a nickname, your first name, or your middle name, anything that's not exactly what you're associating your professional brand with. So, for instance, I'm Amanda Augustine. I can guarantee you're not going to find my personal Facebook page because I'm not using Amanda Augustine for it. I don't want people to find it. That's my personal life. So definitely change the name. Think about the picture. And then remember, you can use these tools for your job search without them necessarily being a part of your professional brand. You can still use them as research. So don't assume it has to be associated with your brand. And the other part is just if it's old job boards, make sure you're editing and updating them so that if you have an old resume up there that really doesn't represent you as a professional of the day, get those suckers down so you're not confusing recruiters.
So networking seems to be so important for the job search. How can I expand my network?
This is such a great question because it really is, and I come across a lot of people who say, I'm just out of school, I don't have a professional network, or people who are maybe much later in their career and say, most of my network's retiring, I really don't know anyone anymore. And I'm always going to turn and say, you're a liar. You all have a network. You may not know it, but you all do. And so the first thing I do is I'd recommend, the first step is obviously starting a network online, but then really cultivating that network, right? Just connecting with someone on LinkedIn does not necessarily mean you're networking. It just means you're expanding the number of people that you can create a better connection with. So start with the people you know. Think about, you can do an advanced search on LinkedIn and find everyone that's from your college, everyone that graduated the same year as you, your professors. Did you do any internships? Connect with anybody you met, either that you worked with, you worked for, maybe it was a client, maybe it was a customer. Connect all with those people. Also, think about your personal life. Have you connected with your family members? I can't tell you how many times people realize, oh my gosh, I had no idea that Uncle John's wife was working at my dream company. So make sure you're connecting with all of those people. That's a great way to start. But when you want to expand your network beyond that, take advantage of the different opportunities that are out there, whether it's online or face-to-face. So one thing I love and that a lot of college students aren't aware of because they've never had to use it before is go to meetup.com, meetup.com. It's a free site, and basically it's people with similar interests getting together to do things, whether it's singles who are active and wanted to go on adventures, or people who really love to cook, or something that's very business related, finance and accounting professionals of New York City. Whatever it is, you can go onto that site and find a group where they're meeting on a regular basis and actually get to have some face-to-face time and meet with people. It doesn't always have to be a professional event in order to expand your network, because you never know who the person standing in line at Starbucks or sitting next to you on the plane, who they are and what they might do. So really use those opportunities to practice your networking skills, to practice, quote-unquote, cold calling, talking to people you don't know, and learning more about them. At the end of the day, ask more questions than you speak, and you'll always be in a good shape.
Sounds good. Now, what are some ways I can learn about a company's company culture?
Okay, great question. So it's so funny because when you think about it, job seeking and dating are so very similar. And think about all the ways you try and stalk a prospective suitor before you go on a first date with them. It's actually a very similar process when you're trying to figure out what's going on in a particular company. You want to look online. You want to look at their profiles. You want to see if there's anything about them, in the news. You want to ask your friends what they know about this person, see if you know anyone who's friends with them, that sort of thing. It's the same thing when you're looking at a company. First of all, go to their website, go to their About Us section, and on their hiring section or their employment section, and read what they're putting out. There's been a huge trend in the recruiting industry to try and be more transparent, not only about their company culture, so there's this whole movement about employer branding, but they're also trying to be more transparent in their interview practices. So you're seeing a lot more companies putting a lot more information up front, and they're also using more video and more visual imagery these days so you get a better sense. I put up, a number of slides ago, obviously check out their social media channels, go to Glassdoor and Vault and see what the reviews are and that sort of thing. But another great site is go to themuse.com, because there are a lot of company profiles that really kind of open the doors and peel back the layers and show you what it's like to work at one of those companies. So I definitely recommend checking them out as well. And definitely, again, why your network is so important, ideally you want to find somebody or a friend of a friend who works there currently or used to work there in the past who can give you some insight into what that company is about, so you can make a more educated decision about, do I really want to work there or not?
Okay. And my last question is, how do I make sure that my resume passes the 6-second test?
Yeah, so that's about, 2 hours of conversation on its own. And I know that, I get that, and it's so challenging. The one thing that I think is most important is remember when you're crafting your document that you're crafting it for multiple audiences. And you always want you always want to think about it in terms of, am I crafting a document that's positioned for a particular role that I want? So remember that your resume shouldn't just be, a list of ingredients or a recipe where you're just listing out everything you've done. You want to turn that recipe into a menu item. You want to position it differently. So when you think about the job you want and what skill sets are most important to that role, You then want to say, okay, how do I craft my document to highlight the skill sets and the experience and the things they care most about for this particular type of role? And that's the best way to get at it.
Great. Thank you so much, Amanda. Just really great information. And thank you for attending this College Recruiter webinar. The subject of today's discussion was on the numbers that matter most in your job search. My name is Andrea McEwen Henderson, and I was your host today. I am one of the national account managers with College Recruiter. I have a dozen years of experience in helping large and small employers reach recent college graduates and students. My primary responsibilities are facilitating our webinars, moderating the discussions at our college recruiting bootcamp conferences, as well as working with small to mid-sized employers on their entry-level hiring needs. College Recruiter is the highest traffic college job board with 150,000 unique monthly visitors. We help employers reach recent college graduates and students of 1-, 2-, and 4-year colleges and graduate schools. We have permission to deliver emails on behalf of our employer clients to 7 million recent graduates and 10 million students, and can target them by major, school, year of graduation, diversity, and more. Our other solutions for employers include job postings, targeted mobile banner ads, targeted display ads, virtual career fairs, and custom research projects. For more information about College Recruiter, you can reach us at www.collegerecruiter.com/contact or 952-848-2211. Today's guest was Amanda Augustine, career management expert. Thank you for joining us today.